Tapeho ki te uru, whakatapeteho ki te tonga, kia mā kina kina, kia mā tara te kā. Ia ana, ia tahu, e tio, he uka, e au, tīhei, mauru. Kia ora. Wonderful. Just for beginning, we have apologies from Jake. Mike and Victoria would be apologies for lateness, and Pauline is with us on Zoom.
Yep. Kia ora.
Okay. So first we have our civil defense team. Yeah. Please join us on the table. Emily.
Oh.
Just get binoculars out. This asks for the slideshow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Cool. All good. So I guess we'll introduce ourselves first. My name is Caitlin Penny. I'm a emergency management advisor / community resilience with the CDEM team.
And I'm Louis, have the same title, emergency manager, community resilience.
And Emily, emergency management advisor with projects.
Kia ora to all and welcome.
Thanks. Do you want us to do that again with the microphone on?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Apologies for that. Cool. So quick overview of what we're going to talk about today, just our team and what we do council. So our business as usual role, and then what happens during an emergency response. Then Louis is going to talk to the hazardscape in Otatahi. And then Em is going to go over tsunami alerting and your guys' role. Cool. So start things off. This is sort of the structure of civil defence emergency management in New Zealand. Operates at kind of 3 main levels. Your local level, which is us, so Christchurch Civil Defence Emergency Management. We're tied to Christchurch City Council. We serve Christchurch and Banks Peninsula. And then you have Canterbury at the regional level. We refer to them as group, and they have 9 sort of local groups underneath them, or territorial authorities. And then at the national level, you have NEMA, which is the National Emergency Management Agency, and they have 16 regional groups under them. So there's a lot of us out there. A quick look at our team overall. So there are supposed to be 9 of us. There's currently 7 full-time staff members. Our manager, Brendan, is online because he's currently COVID, a little bit sick. So kind of appreciative that he's not here in person. So he leads us, he makes sure that we are delivering fit for purpose emergency management arrangements for CCC. Our op readiness guy is Rich. So he makes sure that we have the training systems and processes in place to effectively respond to and manage emergencies. And then planning and welfare at the minute is the same person. So Keegan is filling both roles. Under planning, he identifies, creates reviews, and socializes plans. And then under welfare, he's just making sure that we're delivering our responsibilities under legislation for welfare services, sort of connecting us in with the right people. For volunteers, we have Jan. She's in charge of 3 New Zealand response teams and 1 emergency support team. It's about 150 volunteers. So she makes sure they have the right training, right resources, and right access to help us respond. I have myself and Louis doing community resilience. So it's a lot of public education, talking to different groups of people, and helping communities with community response planning. And then we have Em. I'll let talk to her.
A few kind of little projects where I've been filling some gaps, but my 2 main ones are tsunami readiness and radio capability network.
That's about the sum of us. So there are 400,000 people. It's roughly 57,000 people each that we end up being responsible for in an emergency. So anything anybody else can do to help is gratefully welcomed. So our business as usual role, we sort of see them operates under 4 R's of emergency management: readiness, response, recovery, reduction, and it just constant cycling through all of those. Good. So our team generally works in the readiness area, so that's preparing communities and the council for emergencies. And then when an emergency happens, we'll live in response and recovery area. Mostly response, recovery just starts when response does, so they work together. We don't have a huge amount to do with reduction, but that is where you guys come in, and that's something Em will talk to at the end. Another part of our jobs is our duty officer role. So currently Emily is on call for Christchurch City Council. It's 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. There is someone at the end of the bat phone. Should something happen in the city or in Banks Peninsula, we get a call and then sort of decide what actions Christchurch is going to take from there. Yeah, that line isn't for the public. It's for us to be contacted by other agencies. So group has it, regional has it, NEMA has it, and then like FENS sort of level we're looking at there.
Also, what defines an emergency? According to the legislation there, it's a result of a happening, natural or otherwise, that causes or may cause loss of life or injury, or endangers the safety of the public or property. And the big one that triggers us is cannot be dealt with by emergency services or otherwise requires a significant coordinated response, or it requires some of the powers of the Act to protect life. So when it doesn't necessarily need to be an emergency, like for us to step up the Emergency Operations Centre, we may just monitor as a duty, we may support another agency as they're leading, or we may actually lead from this space. And you can see in that photo there, that's the actual operations centre right next to our office. Some of you have been in there. Top left of that corner is the emergency call centre for the South Island. That's St John's Police and Fire are all up there. That corner behind the controller there is the police emergency operations space. Upstairs and to the right is the regional fire operations space. So we're all operating in the same building, easy to talk to each other and work with each other should the need arise. We work with all of the other agencies listed there, Environment Canterbury, MBIE, MPI, Otahu, Te Whatu Ora. They're all involved. We can support them all or lead with their support as required. And what is it that we actually have to look at? Well, there are some of the hazards that affect Christchurch. These are the ones in the group plan. The big ones on the left-hand side, earthquake and tsunami, low likelihood or possibility, but high consequence should they happen. The flooding there and adverse weather, it's a high frequency here in Christchurch. So we have to, we've actually responded reasonably often to those. On the other side, there are smaller ones that may affect us. And it's all about the risk and the consequence for us. So looking into winter, the extreme temperature in the cold space, it is getting colder in the mornings. We do have a community that really affects, the homeless community. And then El Nino, which we'll talk about very shortly. In the summer, we are looking at what effects that is going to have. And Emily's just going to talk about the El Nino.
Yeah, just thought we'd dive into it. We had a few questions. So we're seeing the effects of the super El Nino system right now. What it looks like for Christchurch is an early onset of our wildfire season and drought for farming communities out in Banks Peninsula. So I guess for this community board area, yeah, that kind of water reduction in the amount of water we're getting. Obviously, over winter is normally when we build up our reserves, aquifers. That's not going to happen because we're seeing already like May is the driest month on record. So yeah, it's just, I guess, to let you know that Brendan's been in several meetings with Fens about it. We're working with them, especially around the fire risk, and plans being put in place to prepare for it. But it's just to give you guys a heads up that, yeah, we are worried about it and monitoring it, and will react and respond appropriately when we start to hit that season. It is going to be interspersed with these cold spikes that we're seeing. So a kind of long periods of drought and then cold spikes. So more extreme and intense kind of weather that we're looking at the moment.
So what does that mean for us and for our communities? Well, it's where Caitlin and I come in particular. We go out and get individuals to make a plan with their households. We get them to have conversations with their children and those living with them as to what's going to happen, what could happen, and to be prepared for that. If you're stuck at home, if you can't get home, what about your pets? What if you have no power, etc.? We have comprehensive talks that we do in order to help people with this. There's also our website, getready.govt.nz, that we point people towards. A whole lot of useful information there. We also assist community groups to make a plan for their community group as well, and how they can assist the community, because we're looking at those at least 3 days preparedness. On the left-hand side there, you've got grab bag items. So that's just single backpack of what you can take with you if you have to leave quickly. And it's not necessarily having it in a bag, but knowing where it is so that you can grab it quickly, having those medications as personal documents. There's a health passport, which some people have as well. Just having that ready to go so that if you have to leave, you're better prepared. And on the other side, if you're stuck at home, supplies, food and water, toilet paper, things like that, copy of your household plan, and working through how do you use those sort of things. Fresh first, then from your fridge, then from your freezer, and just advice and knowledge around that for our communities to survive as best as they can. And giving out information to the communities. It may be emergency mobile alerts. We've all had those horrible noises on our phones. They get pinged from the cell towers, so we don't have individual phone numbers. People still ask us how we got their phone numbers. It's how we get their phone numbers. So yeah, it is purely just the cell phone tower pings every cell phone that's connected to it that's capable of receiving that. The international visitors may not necessarily get those alerts. We also put trusted information on websites and social media. Got the Canterbury website in the middle there, the National Civil Defence, and also our own council website at the top there. And then, of course, on TV and radio, we have radio stations that must put out our information as we send it out. They can't embellish it, so that it's a trusted source, and it's an agreed source. And clicker stopped going. There we go.
Yep, so no surprises, because it was June last year that council made the decision to decommission the tsunami alert sirens. They're basically not fit for purpose anymore, and we're moving to EMA. Well, we have moved to EMA as our primary emergency mobile alert, as our primary alerting system. We had an independent study done, a bit of research to say, was there a case for the sirens to stay? And if so, where would they be? And actually that's come back with a recommendation. Actually, no, still not fit for purpose. And there's other mechanism which Louis has alluded to that will cover that should a tsunami happen. So it was just a touch base again on that, just so you're aware of the situation. We were looking at decommissioning in around October time. It'll be a bit of a process, but there will be some comms and education out to the public. So it's not just sirens coming down. I realise there's not sirens in your area, but it's just so you're aware of the process.
What's EMA?
Emergency mobile alert.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, so I covered that. So there's still lots of sources where people can get that information, and ultimately we still want to push the message long and strong, get gone. So if there's people out to sea that haven't got their mobile on them and they notice the sea doing weird things or weird noises or an earthquake, that is a sign to get gone as soon as possible. And actually some of our our local source tsunami, there wouldn't be time for for a siren to alert anyway before that tsunami potentially arrives. So any kind of sign, earthquake that's long and strong, we're encouraging people just to self-evacuate and not wait for our official warnings. Yeah, so again, the messaging is walk and cycle if you're able to. Don't get in a car, because especially for our eastern suburbs, it's very difficult to get out and there won't be time to get in a car and get stuck in traffic. Louis already said, have your grab bag ready and then support others. And again, I appreciate it won't be your communities evacuating, but you will be receiving people coming out of those areas. So again, it's just a heads up and an awareness piece. Yeah, and onto your role in, I guess, the whole system. I've used our 4R cycle. So in reduction, generally as a council, we're having to make some difficult decisions about where to build now and who bears the risk of things like climate change and these natural hazards that we all experience. We're kind of at the pointy end of climate change. We only kind of get the really bad experience of it. But there's all these other natural hazards which we've talked about. So making sustainable decisions in your decision-making processes really, really helps us. The processes like PC12, not building in dumb places, really helps us, because the less people that live in places that are at risk, the less people that we have to coordinate rescues for. So yeah, that really, really helps in the reduction space for us. In the readiness space, I guess it's firstly having a really good understanding of what the hazards and risks are for your ward area, and then communicating them out to the public. You are trusted sources of advice. You've been elected to represent your community, so they put a lot of trust in you. So if you can relay our CDEM messaging and also, yeah, like provide that advice, know your hazards and be able to tell people, that's going to be really helpful as well. During a response, same sort of thing. Again, people will look to you to lead and advise them. So if you can help by relaying the messages we're posting, and that kind of just helps mitigate some of that misinformation that comes out there, things like you don't need to evacuate or that kind of thing. So yeah, anything you can do in that space is really, really helpful. In terms of intelligence, you are very connected with the communities that you live in and that you work in. So if you can provide that intelligence through your community board advisors, normal streams, obviously if it's a 111 call, call 111. But yeah, any kind of like intelligence you get on communities that have been flooded or isolated, that can go straight through to your community development advisors, community recreation advisors, and through that, and then they'll get in touch with us. So yeah, your normal channels to get in touch with us is great. And then in terms of recovery, you know your communities better than us. You'll know which ones are more vulnerable and ones that have been affected over and over again. So that really, really helps us to know what communities are going to be more vulnerable when an event happens, because either they're still recovering from a past event or they're quite vulnerable in the first place, such as the homeless community or low decile areas. So that's really helpful information for us to do our planning. And I think I've covered everything. Any questions? Parto. Or Brendan, did you have anything to add?
I'll be interested in any questions, but I think the presentation kind of speaks for itself. So thank you for allowing us to come in, and thank you to my team for the work you've done also.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I had a question. You mentioned the aquifers and you're worried at the moment about the water. Did you say that aquifers, there hasn't been enough water to refill our aquifers?
No, it's just that they're monitoring water levels, like things like soil moisture, aquifers refilling, that kind of thing, because obviously across the country the dams provide our electricity.
Yeah, I'm not worried about across country, I'm worried about Christchurch.
Yeah, so that's just in general.
Yeah.
Water levels, aquifers, that kind of thing are being monitored, and also soil moisture, which is an indication of like, yeah, how quickly fires might spread or catch fire kind of thing. So yeah, so I should have worded that better.
Yeah, no, so long term, like what's being looked at that long, I mean, it's a little bit off track, but it's an interesting topic. Long term, what's council doing to ensure that the water is there? Like, you know, what's happening with those aquifers refilling? How far are they going?
Brenda's got an answer for you. Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Well, that good question. Thank you. That is a good question, but it's not for the CDM team necessarily to respond to. That's more an adaptation question. So that's about a long-term strategic view around water management. So that's planning and land use as opposed to strictly emergency management. We're certainly aware of it. We're paying attention to it. We don't have a whole lot of levers we can pull that will change it a great deal. Although you could argue, I guess, in the reduction space around development and water take and consenting, there could be some levers pulled there, but that's more done by other parts of the council as opposed to emergency management.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's an ongoing emergency, so keep it up
So
there.
there also is aquifer recharging going on as well out in the Selwyn area. So they'll use the Central Plains water to recharge some aquifers out there at times. But yeah, like Brendan, I don't have a huge amount of information about that, but it is something people are aware of. That's probably not enough to actually, you know, like solve the problem of the firefighting that faces, but it helps with water quality.
Yeah. Thank you.
I have two questions, if I may. One is TV and radio on there. When the first Canterbury earthquake happened, we had been drilled for years on the back of the phone book, you know, tune into your local radio station, which I did, and got a whole lot of pre-programmed stuff networked out of Auckland. It was hopeless, right across various bands and TV. This will be something that needs to be addressed at the national level and may well be under control, but broadcasters, mainstream media now required to be onto it when something like this happens?
Brendan's got an
Thank you, Brendan.
Yes.
Yes, they are. They are very much required to be onto it. There's an MOU and an obligation within the CDM legislation that requires that they transmit approved messages. A number of lessons were learnt in the earthquakes, and also, identified and re-identified during the Cyclone Gabriel and other weather events in the North Island, where the local media was impacted by the event. So the national media then had to pick up the mantle there, and those processes are rapidly improving, are gradually improving. But that is very much a lever that is pulled at the national level. NEMA and our regional colleagues are aware of that. We support those changes and improvements. But what would happen in a small event in Christchurch is, because it's its nature, the media will continue to operate largely as normal. As the events get bigger, the responsibilities shift further and further away from Christchurch and further out of our control. So we'll be keeping the feet to the fire around the national media role, but it's not something we can directly influence here from Christchurch City, I'm afraid.
Yeah, thanks for keeping on that, because it was a real area of concern at that time. I remember the best I could muster was talkback on, and that was about as useful as not being useful, if you think better, worse than nothing. So the second question was, what about self-evacuation? Certainly another earthquake was the Kaikoura one. So that gave all the hallmarks of long and strong and that sort of thing. You know, in my household, we packed the car and started getting out of Dodge, but we only saw one other car doing the same thing. But it begs the question, if we were to self-evacuate now, where's a true source of information that, say, a Christchurch Central or a Papanui resident would go? Because we're not a hilly sort of a city.
So, yeah.
Where would we go? Or where would we find out?
Inland, ideally this is why we encourage people to have household plans, because it's where would you go if you self-evacuate, to a friend or whānau outside of that evacuation zone. We definitely encourage people to keep going inland, so if they're from the east, and keep going, so they're not blocking those routes out, I guess. But in an ideal world, everyone has a friend or a whānau they can go and stay with. If tsunami case, we would obviously be setting up some civil defence centres for people to stay if they needed to. But yeah, it would look like chaos.
I think the thing to consider there is you can go on the CCC website and look at the tsunami zone. It's actually not the whole of the city. There's a
Yeah.
little band on the edge. So if you're
Yeah.
out of that zone, you don't need to evacuate. And it's people coming out of those zones. Yeah, so I'd have a look at that, see where you are with reference to those tsunami evacuation zones, and then plan from there.
Yeah.
And then if we are setting up some civil defence centres or kind of information sites, that will be communicated through our CCC website, and yeah, we'll get some radio comms and that kind of thing out.
Excellent. But a wonderful one-word rule of thumb for people who are consulting, where do we go, would be.
Yes. Yeah.
Inland and up.
Yeah. Preferably.
Brendan wants to say something.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to support the team. They're dead right. You don't have to evacuate if you're not in a tsunami zone. What we would like to send the message though is if you are outside the tsunami zone, be prepared to help. And that's at an individual and a community level. The tsunami event in New Zealand will be an all of country event. And while only a small number of people relatively will be directly affected, they'll be massively affected, and they'll need to be fed, clothed, housed, looked after for an extended period of time. So those wards and people and communities that are outside the evacuation zone have a hugely important role to play in looking after their friends and whānau who potentially have nothing to go back to.
Very practical insights.
I just asked
Quickly.
just on that, because I have quite a bit of involvement in surf clubs out there, and I constantly get told, living in this, I live in the swamp and they live by the beach, and they constantly sort of say, well, if something's going to happen, you guys are going to get it as well because it's going to come up the river, you'll just be just as bad off. That's the view of the people living around, well, some of the people, but they're surf lifesavers and and so forth. That's their view of what's going on and what's going to happen. So that's really bad miscommunication and misinformation going on their behalf. And the other bit of, because it just shows you how misinformation, because I also believed that as far as a tsunami was concerned, because of the way our harbour was, that actually if we were going to have a tsunami, we would have lots of warning for it, because it would be a big, long one from far out.
Depends where it's from.
So is it?
Yeah.
But my understanding was that our coastline, our particular Canterbury coastline, was it would be like a very, 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 very random thing to get that tsunami that would be instant like that.
For a long distance one, yes. We've got local, regional and long distance.
Yeah.
For a local one, so the Hikarangi Trench, literally could be 90 minutes before it hits Christchurch.
Okay.
But the chances of that happening are less than, well, I guess the long ones, we've got 16 hours plus to prepare for. The local source ones, they're the primary worry.
Okay.
Because people won't have a lot of warning.
Yeah.
But kind of your point sort of illustrates to us that we just need to get out and share this information, because
That's my
there's
point.
information out there. Education's key. So absolutely, thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Just last question from me. Just how does school obtain these informations? Schools, yeah.
So the schools have campaigns themselves. So through our National Emergency Management Agency, they send out stuff to schools and they have their campaigns through there, and Ministry of Education. We also do work with schools. These guys are out and about. But it's working with our partners to deliver those messages. I don't know if you need to add more.
No, covered it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Brendan and Caitlin, Louis and Emily.
Got it. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Andy is online. Andy is here. So Andy, please join us. And Andy is going to talk about North India study update.
Yes.
This is the one I couldn't.
Thank you. Does the mic go on automatically?
No, you have to press the little person there.
Testing.
Good to go.
Just Karen letting it be.
Two of us here. My name is Andy Milne. I'm team leader for asset planning and transportation. And I've got my colleague and one of the co-authors for will be the North Area study. I'm Lizzie Chin. I'm now Transport Network Planner. This is an update on where we're at with that study. We're almost there. There's been some delays due to a number of reasons, one of them being the need to wait for an updated network transport model, which was delivered to us only last month. But in the meantime, we've been doing work in the background leading up to the receipt of that model. Can you go? How do you? Oh, slide. Yeah, right. I'm just going to go to slide 2, just to remind us of what the objectives of the study were. Number 1 was to define what the problem is, and this is quite important for any funding application that we'll be going for, is to clearly determine what is the problem. Is there a problem? So a part of the study goes into that. Another objective was to look at what measures would be needed to address those problems. And the third objective was to determine whether we needed to retain the road designation along Northcote Road. Now, just on that, that had some very tight deadlines. It expired in August this year, in a couple of weeks' time. So we had to make moves on applying to extend that prior to the study being completed. But we had enough information within the study to put together a convincing application for the Commissioner to allow the extension, the designation to be extended another 10 years. So we've actually achieved objective 1, is to retain that designation. If we'd lost it, it would have been an uphill battle to determine what we could do with Northcote Road within the margin of the road corridor. So now we've got this wider corridor, should we need it. And we'll go on to describe how we might well indeed need it. The study takes the form of, we consulted our funding advisors within the NZTA, and we've taken guidance from them on how to structure the report such that it takes the form of a funding application. And these things you see as on that slide are the elements that NZTA wish to see in order to convince them whether it's worth them coming alongside us and co-funding some of it. And so we followed that methodology. So I've just, because we're just skimming over an update here, I've just highlighted in red some of the things that we'll talk about in the little slide pack today. First, we'll just look at the existing situation, and this is quite an interesting slide. Well, on the left, that's the number of vehicles per day, and what we've got is an historic count of Northcote Road from 2021 through to 26, missing out 22, the COVID years. And what's interesting, if you look at the first pair of columns, which is 2021 QE2, and if you look at the third pair of columns, 2024 QE2, and these are the ones that we need to be comparing, where the count was undertaken at the exact same spot as several years before. And what's not surprising to us, we kind of knew that there wasn't a major increase in traffic over the years, but it might be a surprise to folks that live there. And I've seen Pack and Save go in. They've seen schools expand and establish there. But what this tells us is that, if anything, the traffic is stable or even decreasing. Some reasons for that might well be the fact that Northcote Road. So I just saw a shake of your head there.
Where's it gone?
I know, it doesn't feel that way now. Yeah, when you drive.
And yes, that's right. I mean, and that's the point of the study, isn't it? Is to get
Yeah, that's right.
2025.
independently collected data. So that's what it's telling us. And that's what NZTA are interested in, is the facts as well, is what do they get for their money?
Where have the cars gone?
Well, we'll come to that.
I know where they are, don't worry.
At the end of the street. I'm moving.
NZTA have endorsed this, it's called the Healthy Streets Assessment. And it looks like the environment, how welcoming is the environment for people to walk and to be there? Okay, now clearly this Northcote Road is, to my mind, a pretty hostile environment. It's heavily trafficked. Okay, it's a major arterial road. It's designed to carry lots of traffic. And you can tell when you go there. So this Healthy Streets Assessment has taken chunks of Northcote Road and the area study itself and assessed it against that assessment criteria. This actual section here is probably one of the worst, actually. It scored overall 8, which is one of the lowest scoring. Where it does score high is the fact that there is, in fact, a signalled crossing at QE2, which allows people to get across that road at that point in some measure of safety.
So was that done through asking, how was that put together, sorry?
Yeah, so that was done by 2 engineers, or one's an engineer and the other specialises in pedestrian planning. They walked, so it was an assessment based on 2 people. So it's a qualitative assessment. So it's a judgment thing.
So were they door knocking, or were they just heading up people on the side of the road?
No, they stood themselves too.
Pure observation. They walked it
So they're
themselves.
making their own personal judgment.
Yes.
So it's not asking people.
Correct.
Okay.
There is a set criteria that they need to follow, but they make that judgment call on what score to give those criteria.
Would have been interesting to go back to the school kids who came and said they were going to die. See how they're feeling.
Yeah. Well, we wouldn't say he's going to die, but
That's what they came here and told us.
I know.
Where they were going to die.
I was there.
Yeah.
But look, it has picked up the poor quality of the footpath in terms of width. In terms of how close you are to live traffic, it's not a nice place to walk. There's barely enough room to put your bins. If you walk along there, you're walking past people's bins. You're coming across historic telegraph poles that are in the middle of the footpath. You're having to walk around the footpath. You're having to walk on a grassed up berm. So it's altogether, it's not a pleasant environment for walking. We knew that, but we had to follow a process to be able to show from a tangible point of view that it's not a good place to walk.
So I understand you're scoring from 22 to 0. Is it, which is being more high risk? Is it 22 or is it the 0? Like, how is it scaled?
Well, the overall score, so that 22 goes into a number of other categories, and out pops the finals.
Is that class as being bad then?
Well, 22 would be good because that 22 was scored as such because it had a signalled pedestrian crossing. Overall, it scored one of the poorest sections of Northcote Road.
And so just, sorry.
Oh, no, you go.
Should we let him finish and then ask questions?
Sure.
Yes, cool. Thank you, Andy.
So the outcomes, it identifies quality of the road surface, things that could be improved, space for walking, space for cycling, proper space for bus stopping, proper space if you were to put a bus shelter there, the need for that. So it identifies these. If you were in the area, you'd know them straight away. But to a funding assessor, this is the sort of information that he needs.
Yes.
Crash statistics. We go back 5 years. This is the typical length of time. This identifies injury crashes only. So there's other crashes that didn't involve an injury. This includes both motor vehicles and pedestrians and cyclists. In the report itself, it provides a separation of the number of pedestrian accidents and the number of cycle accidents. I can tell you that there were 7. Where are we? There were 7 cycle crashes throughout, all non-injury, but there's 7 cycle crashes over the last 5 years and 5 pedestrian crashes over that last 5-year period. Again, non-injury. What that means is that they weren't required hospital treatment. It's actually, for a road that carries that volume of traffic, which is around about 27,000 vehicles a day, it's lower than you might expect.
It's more than what the 7 and 5 is more than what.
It's less than you might expect.
Less than what given
Yes,
right. Sure.
given the sheer volume of traffic there. And what NZTA, they look at a measure as a collective risk mapping, which is what we got there. And they look at the volume of traffic and the form of intersection, the number of crashes that have happened and the severity of those crashes. And on that basis, out pops this national index, which is illustrated up here in the slide. You might be interested to see that the Sawyers Arms, Northcote, Greers is only at a medium level. If you've ever tried to cross that, you might be surprised, but it might just be because it's so difficult to cross that people are avoiding it. Yeah.
I've got a red dot on.
The red is a medium high. And so an NZTA funder, though, he would be interested to see where would he get benefits for his, as council would and the community would, where would we get benefit from our investment? And this would point you towards, you'll get your biggest benefit by investing in Northcote QE2 main North Road with the red daughters.
Yes.
So, and this allows the people from a network perspective. If you can zoom right out and see the whole city, then you'll see the red dots or the black dots, and that's where they'll be focusing. Where should they put their money to resolve the biggest problems? I'm going to hand over to Lichi here just to describe some of the traffic conditions.
What we are seeing at the moment is just one transport model indicating, take morning peak as an example, where the traffic coming from, and we can see on the Northcote Road, we are looking at nearly 1,000 traffic on each direction, so including 6% heavy vehicle. So the travel time we're looking at along the corridor is roughly in the morning peak, we're looking at 5 minutes to 6 minutes on each direction. I mean, the travel time is measured from Harewood intersection, Harewood Greers intersection, all the way to Man North and the North intersection. And yeah, can you change to the next slide? See what to add.
Those little clips at the side there, these are taken from Bluetooth, so they're a pretty accurate representation of the travel time through the network at any point in time throughout the day. So I think I'm reading that top. The top line is the travel time through the network from Harewood right through to Main North Road, and you'll see those peak points there, as you'd expect. Slows down during the school or the morning travel peak, and then it flattens out throughout the day to about a 5 minute, 3 to 5 minute time to get through the network. Then picks up again. So it's a bit small for me to read from this point, but picks up again after lunch, peaks at school time, and it stays up there for quite some time, and then starts to decay after 6 o'clock. So it's pretty busy from 3 for the next 3 hours. The bigger image there, as Leachy says, shows the scale of traffic through the network. It looks pretty equal in both directions. This is the morning. What it does is it peels as you're coming westbound. It will half of it, some of it, 25% will peel off and continue its journey along Sawyer's Arms Road to get to probably the motorway, and the rest of it will head its way southward down to Harewood. UE2, you'll see there's 2 thicker lines there. That's pretty congested. Our operations people who monitor the cameras and the queuing from the cameras tell us on occasion that queue, the QE2, almost goes right back to the roundabouts for the on and off ramp, and that would be of great interest to NZTA. Because if their network is compromised, they'll be very, very interested. So that's probably all I can see with that slide.
Yeah.
We'll have to make that way tour. Spot ourselves.
Emma talked about where's that traffic going.
Yeah.
Well, it's going. That pair of slides there, it's morning, eastbound one way. Oh, I can't remember what that says, tells us now, but what it shows is it's both directions, isn't it? At least it's both directions. So what you're seeing is the traffic is actually avoiding the corridor and it's going up.
Taking a shortcut.
Yeah.
On the top, on the left-hand side, we did a select link study on the Witches Street. We try to understand the traffic, where this traffic on Witches Street, where they come from. This on the left diagram will show you the Witches traffic onto a Witches likely to come from High State and Sawyer's Arm. And the reason, because this heavily delay at Sawyer's Arm and Greer and North intersection. So people will taking shortcuts to turn left into a Witches and heading to Cavendish and all the way from Tucker and to bypass the whole corridor. Make a left turn heading to the north to Preston or further Belfast. And the diagram on the right-hand side is showing on the southern part of the North Road. For example, in the PM peak or morning peak, when North Road become congested, we will see a higher amount of traffic using Morrison Avenue to bypass this constraint the corridor and the intersection. These 2 diagrams just telling us traffic.
Morrison Ave.
Yeah, Morrison Avenue. Yeah, on the right-hand side, you will see the Morrison from the London and Sawyer's Arm to bypass the corridor. So this select link study just suggesting the traffic using Witches, Cavendish, Morrison should be considered as a consequence of the corridor-wide congestion, rather than some localized right running.
Yeah. And I think as traffic increases on Northcote Road, the impact to the local network is likely to increase. Yeah. So I mean, it's another reason why it supports the case for something needing to be done from an efficiency perspective along that corridor. And of course, there's trade-offs, because if we're looking to put a pedestrian crossing to help Casebrook kids, that's okay, but it will have a consequence of slowing down the traffic through that corridor, and people with the sat navs. The sat navs are telling them now it's quicker for you to go Morrison Ave or Beaches. So good.
Until they all get to 40k as well.
Well, or whatever it is will need to be done to.
Oh, that's right.
To dampen them.
Yeah. You know it's going to happen.
Yeah. I did speak to our signals people about the prospect of a crossing for Casebook. And in certain, in lots of traffic corridors, you might get what call a green wave. You get a green light, you get through it, and you get through the next, and you get through the next if you're lucky. And that's designed purposely to allow platoons of vehicles to get through in one go.
Yeah.
And so it's possible that we could link signals on such a new crossing in a manner that means that whatever stopped at the railway crossing, say, will not get stopped again. It'll flow through. Like so if you get through the railway crossing, you will get through our new crossing. So it's coordinated. The only drawback with that is that when somebody pushes the button, they're going to have to wait much longer for the coordinated cycle to come up. So there's a trade-off there. Exploring options. So what we got on the left-hand side there is a typical cross-section for what we'd be looking for if we were to pursue this. What you've got is 2 traffic lanes. You've got a central flush median. You've got proper sized 1.8 on-road cycle lanes. You've got probably half a 6.6 for your bins, and you've got a 2.5 shared footpath cycleway, and then a bit of a 0.9 metre berm before you get to the property boundary. So that's what could be. That's what we'd probably be aiming for. I've got I handed to Mark a little. I saw it so tiny. I meant to get A3, but on the right-hand side of that slide, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 descriptions of options. Right? So they're variations of how you could achieve that cross-section. Right? Because you can achieve it different ways. You can achieve it by stripping out parking on both sides, which could be sensitive to the folks that live there. You could strip off parking on one side or retain the other side, or you could indent and retain parking on that side. Of course, everything comes with a cost. If you're going to indent parking, then you're going to have to cut deeper into those the designated properties. So it comes at a cost. So this probably, you might get a better idea from this, but I'd like to get these back because these are just concepts and still lots of work needing done, but to you.
Was that one?
Same one. Same that. Yeah. So yeah. So as I said,
It's all pipe.
yeah, it's not easy to read, is it? But if you look at the first one is utilising northern curve, so you're taking away a strip of the I think that red line indicates, so not everybody's got that plan. So I may not continue because some folks haven't got it, but that is pretty much described up there. Whereas we use the northern curve. We use
So is this from the railway to Main Wharf Road?
That's right, and that's what the designation is. No, the other section that we have plenty of road space to implement this if we need to. Anyway, so these are options that could be further investigated if this thing goes beyond just the data collection study here.
Yes.
And depending on whether NZTA or even council believe there's merit in progressing this further, have they got funding? Yeah, and that last slide I'll discuss about the funding part. You want to quick look? I'll hand back.
I've got it. You've got it.
Hand back to Leachy. That's all right.
It's all right. Just leave it there.
Clicked at the end.
We're scared. Running. Scared.
Yeah.
Definitely wants it.
Police station here.
Please, please.
Oh, yeah. And we have already done a future year forecasting. So we're looking at because we have the latest transport Our model incorporates latest 2023 census data and the demographic and the work employment household survey. So by using our transport data and the household survey forecasting model, we build a future year base and the current base year, and we put two models together to see the differences. So in this plot, you will see the green stuff means reduction. It's a two model compare 2023 and 2053 into the future, like 30 year into the future. So you see the green stuff means decrease traffic volume, and the red means increase. On the top right-hand side, there's a GIS map aerial image. That's when the data is come from console demographic household forecasting data. So generally, you will see some slightly intensified household growth around corridor, around key activity center, which indicating we have a medium density development, more townhouse development near the commercial area. But the other part of area will present a quite reasonably stable growth into a household. But when we're looking, so we are not expecting to see a significant growth in the number of households in the residential neighborhood. But compared to our transport model, we see a huge increase on the North Road. We're looking at nearly 700 southbound traffic on North Road in the morning peak. We're also looking at around 350 eastbound traffic on North Road and 500 vehicle westbound on North Road in the morning peak. That's the comparison between 2023 and in 30 years time, 2053. So it's very likely the growth is come from the further, as further north, we have a northwest, and we have a number of greenfield development in the north. Each greenfield development may proposing fast track applications that proposing 300 or even 400 new residential development, and also including with our neighbor Waimakariri. They are also experiencing a repeat growth in the recent year. So that's very likely to make North and North Road corridor become busier and busier. So, and on the right bottom corner, this layout plan comes from one of our greenfield development, just indicating it's proposed or approved.
I can't say it's proposed, it's just, it depends on the airport noise contours. If they get shifted closer to the airport, it releases a whole load of rural land that was embargoed from development. And those landowners have contacted council with an indication that they would like to develop.
Yes.
One advantage of that is the structural, the road structure out there would need to be built brand new roads to accommodate it, and that might give some relief. Might give some relief to Sawyer's Arms Road if they almost created kind of a second orbital route around Northcote. But it's still not a pretty picture from what Richie is saying. A lot of that growth is coming from Waimak. Coming down Main North Road, Northern Arterial, and along our Northcote Road corridor.
So this just the future year study just telling us if we are not doing anything on the corridor, so the corridor will continue to function as part of strategic road network to accommodate other part of growth demand. So there will be North Road will be experience increasing operational pressure.
And of course, I mean, you might think, well, why don't we build 4-lane Northcote Road? But it's kind of a fool's errand, because if you increase capacity on Northcote Road, you're just bringing traffic more traffic, you're inducing more traffic simply just to come to the next bottleneck where it comes back down to a two-lane. So you're chasing your tail if you think you can address congestion through increasing capacity to that extent.
It's great to hear you say that. So, other question?
Yep.
So,
Come on, can we, one more slide, and then we've got questions after.
okay.
Yeah, because I'm mindful of time and the content up there.
Second last slide, I think. Look, if council and NZTA are indicating support for this, then we'll pick up where we left off a couple of years ago, and that this was to look at Northcote Sawyers. We'd have to have another look at this because there might be a better solution that because this clearly is going to hold up the arterial function of Northcote Road. But something would need to be done to look at further. To the right, we've got Northcote QE2. As part of this study, we were just doing a little investigation into could we use up that designation to increase the capacity for the Northcote Road leg, easing up making it more attractive to come that way instead of through Vagues and this local network. So that's something we'll be looking at in our final report. On a slide here was what happens next. Finish the report. We're not far off. I think 4 or 5 weeks we're there. Then we invite we've already spoken to NZTA, and they had indicated they are interested to know the outcome of the study. So anyway, so we will be back in touch with them, and we might get a feel for which, would they be encouraging us to continue, or would they say, not for us, it's up to you, you may proceed on your own, council. Now, one good news is both the Northcote Sawyers Arms and the Northcote study are put forward as candidate projects for the draft LTP. Okay, so which is good news. It means that they're back on the radar again at this point in time until the LTP goes through public consultation, goes through council, and goes through what other projects in the city are to be prioritised for funding. If it makes it through, the next step is to go back to NZTA and say, hey, look, council are committed to this, and they have included them in their LTP. What do you think? And they might think, oh, okay, right, well, that's encouraging. We can invite you to proceed along the business case process, NZTA's business case process, which is a bit more detail on what we've got here. And you just set out different criteria and the benefits that you're going to achieve from it, tangible benefits you're going to get from it, to the very end point where they might say, yes, we will fund half of it, off you go. Coming back to the steps, if NZTA said, no, it's not for us, then it's a choice. The choice is for two choices. One is we split the corridor into discrete sections. So into smaller chunks of projects. One might be the intersection to the left or the main North Road intersection. It might be that section of footpath and cycleway to the east, the railway line, and to the west, and a crossing for Casebrook. So we might split them up into discrete, maybe more affordable projects that the board might wish to put on their transport priorities back to council. The other alternative is to take the whole thing, council, and say, council, we believe that this is a absolutely necessary project, and they may around the table make a decision that yes, it is a critical project to be included and to be funded 100% by ratepayer. So that's down the line. So that's sort of the path that it would follow, and it's a lot of ifs and buts.
Thank you for very thorough presentation. Now we have questions. Emma, Simon, and then John.
Okay, so you listened to the report that we just had before about our responsibility to ensure that we are making sure that we're doing sustainable projects around the city. Where's the bus lane?
Right, the bus lane, we have a section in there on public transport. It's not an ECAN priority route. Okay, it's not a priority route. The priorities are Main Road, as the route number 1 uplift, and eventually leading towards something possibly much bigger than buses. So that's something that's going on. Right. So perhaps, if our other authorities are not willing to be working with us to be making sustainable decisions for the future, we could just leave it and just let it sit and fester and not waste our money on these improvements that are actually not going to improve it. Just an idea.
You have a question.
Oh, no, my question was about where's the bus lane, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Ashley.
I'm real concerned about the data you've collected. I feel that it's not adequate enough to support such a project to go up against NZTA to support it. You've had 2 people that don't know the area, probably haven't been there often or haven't been there at all, to do evaluation on how they felt. I feel the report should be based structurally on transport and what's happening. I feel that we could have gone more and branched out and got the students involved in the schools, because they are now a main source of going in and out of that area as well. Could we have more data on the timeframe that all this information was collected? Like, do we know?
Yes, but I would have history through the emails and when it came back in.
Are we able to get access to have a look into that? Because was it based in a school holiday? Or was it based on a general term frame?
We'll have the dates. We have the dates.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just concerned. I don't think you've actively enough gathered information from the residents in their area.
I think that's something that if this was to go further, it would certainly be a requirement to get public consultation.
This is more to try and convince NZTA to be involved.
Right from the word, yes. It's an area study. I think it's highlighted if you know the area, it's highlighted its deficiencies. I think it's highlighted them well enough.
So in your professional,
It certainly says that there's need of intervention. That much is definitely clear.
Yes. I think it's identified clearly enough, and I think there's options there that would address those problems.
And as you said, if it progresses further, there will be a detailed plan and
That's right.
Consultation, right?
There'd be safety audited and community consultation.
Cool. Ashley, Simon.
Thank you. Just a couple, the traffic volume changes over time along the corridor, not actually a big surprise to me because it's consistent with what's been reported to us through the DEMP monitoring. But yeah, what I do observe, especially for westbound traffic at the main North Road end, is morning and evening peaks. It's backing up to the intersection, which is then backing up QE2 Drive, probably more in the mornings than the evenings. And it's interesting that subjectively the sense is that the corridor is busier, but we're not seeing more vehicles through, and I'm not quite sure how to rationalise that. If you like, is it that the throughput was pretty much at a constraint or at a limit anyway? So like with the CNC opening, sending a few more cars that way, it's kind of backing things up, but without more traffic being able to get through.
Yeah, I think you're right that the capacity of Northcote Road as a single lane, if you observe it, it's constant traffic. There's almost there appears not to be much more in it to take much more traffic, and that's why it's backing up. So we could offer some improvements potentially to the Northcote QE2 to satisfy NZTA. But the key issues, I guess, what could we improve here? We can improve the level of service for pedestrians and cyclists. That's probably one of the key things to take from this. Unfortunately, national transport funding is it's a pendulum. It swings one way and then
left and right.
vehicles and it swings left and right. That's right. And so
Not north and north.
and so the climate we're in now, they're looking for efficiency, traffic efficiency, high productivity efficiency.
Yes.
In another time, they would be more sympathetic and more focused on pedestrian and more community, more alternative ways of addressing the transport.
Certainly, the backing up vehicles on QE2, I do see it backed up right to the roundabouts at the CNC, so there might be a conversation to have with NZT about that.
Yes.
Second one, the healthy street assessment. So we scored 8 overall. Is that on this 100-point scale?
I'm quite sure. I need to chase that up with the people who did that.
Sure.
The highest score was Cavendish. You got 21.
And I was wondering, are there other roads that would be comparable? Like I don't know about the one where we have the clearways that don't really work, Curlitz Road. What off the top of your head, would you know how Curlitz Road might compare? My sense is it would be similar, but I don't know if you've done an assessment on that.
No, it'd be pretty poor.
Yeah,
It'd be pretty poor because they took cyclists off the traffic, off the road. There's the same problem in Northcote. There's bins and all sorts of obstacles. And there's glass and just
And last question, the future network state, looking at 2053, does the model consider the growth in the Cranford Basin area? Because you're expecting 1,400 homes.
it does. On that slide, you see a red patch.
That was there.
That's high density.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, cool.
That's me. Thank you.
Right.
John.
Yeah, thank you. I thought it was great. Data was great, actually. Thank you for collecting and collating it and achieving it. It happens to generally support those who would favour some attention to that piece of road. I just want to check the healthy street assessment and the network risk map. Are they kind of generally accepted accounting practice, if you will, among traffic and with NZTA? They're kind of gold standard.
Yes, they are.
Items.
Yep.
Yeah.
Particularly so a few years ago when NZT was much more sympathetic and much more interested in pedestrian and cycling as a valid solution to the growing transport problem. Slightly faded under the current climate, but it could easily come back again, and it still is a valid assessment. In fact, it was our advisor that said, do a healthy streets assessment.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems to be the right call. My other, Simon's asked too what the scale is. What those numbers are out of on the pie chart. Like on the slide there that has the circle visual. Yeah. We've got some 0 out of something and 22 out of something. I can't quite figure out what the maximum would be. It's perfect.
Yes.
Any of those given radials.
I can't answer that. Other than pass this around, time is moving on. But Cavendish Shade and Shelter got 33.
Okay.
So we know that Cavendish is a beautifully tree-lined street. So that might suggest that it's 33 is the top.
Yeah,
That's upper limit, possibly.
And
And where you've got a 0 for shade and shelter on Northcote, so that might be the 0 that we're looking at.
Right, yeah, good. No, that just gives a sense of proportion. Thanks for that. And while on the theme of how it compares, the network risk map, where this particular subject site has a red dot, medium to high risk. How does that look compared to the whole city? Are there many of those red dots across Christchurch, or indeed black dots for high risk?
Yeah. On Friday, we get, because the brand new model is a thing called network management plan. Okay, and it's a citywide model. Okay, and it gives you different layers, whatever you ask it. Okay, one of them will be crashes. And so it'll produce for us such a map to show where all the red and black dots are. They're typically a key highly trafficked intersections. Yeah. Where cars are going to back the other one. That's, you can get a kind of an idea of the busier the intersection, that the higher the higher.
Probably can have a stab a guess at quite a few of the others, but it is relevant for a funder looking at it. Where do I portion my attention? And it's not, this won't be the only correct piece of road in Christchurch that those issues. And finally, I think you've addressed it already, but that tail back to the roundabout there, that's has been spoken of. Sounds like a wonderful thing to quantify to support this case there.
Yeah, so our tail end modelling, that we'll be looking at that. What we showed there was a big network wide model. What we did, we clipped the origin destination matrix from that, put it into a much more refined micro simulation model, which is what Leach is doing over the next few weeks, and that should quantify, and that'll be what's the word, calibrated against known queue lengths, which we get from the cameras. And so it should be able to give us a pretty decent representation of how that's performing.
Okay.
And that would be quite a valuable piece of evidence to give to NZTA.
Yeah.
Even if not for increasing road capacity, but something needs to be done to service people's travel demand, right? And possibly not car based.
Cool.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for bringing in on this.
Okay.
Explaining.
Yeah, I'm just checking Pauline or Mike or Vic, if you guys have any.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Good
Cool.
presentation.
Thank you so much, Andy.
Thank you.
AJ. Thank you. Yeah. All right, let's finish the official proceeding and then go to next agenda.
Yes.
It's too cold. Toru pa. Kite Tapanui. Kia Watia, Kia Mama, Te Nako, Te Tinana, Te Wairua, Ike Atas Tangata. Koyara, Erongo, Pakaira, Aki Ironga. Tina,